April's entrance. A city on the plains gives frost the silver brush off.
Alice Major is all about the art of poetry.
The planet's orbit spins into the phase.
She's the soul of poetry in Edmonton, in Alberta. She's a woman who has spent her life building a poetry community.
Ushers spring along the green carpet of the river.
What she's done with poetry and with language is exceptional, and it should be honored.
April scripts her throne speech. To me, poetry is about trying to understand the world and share that understanding with other people, to communicate what I find interesting about the world. Sun streams on the heads of office workers. I've been fascinated by poetry since I was a little girl. It was something my dad did. He wrote poems and recited them to us. And so even at the age of 7, I was trying out rhymes and finding things to talk about in poems. I came to Canada in 1956. I was about 8 years old at the time, and we settled in Toronto from Scotland. I came west when I was in my early 30s and started as a newspaper reporter out in Williams Lake, British Columbia. Then found my way to Edmonton a couple of years later. One of the reasons I loved Edmonton was I did catch the poetry bug here. I had always written stuff, put it in my folder, didn't show it to anybody. And then here, the first person I met almost was another poet. And all of a sudden, I had community. And in the arts, community makes all the difference. It's having people to share with. This is exactly as it was written in 1973. Oh. Death comes slow on a cross.
She's really on the edge of so many different aspects of humanity and human nature, and she's able to put that into her poetry. She's someone who believes so fully in continuing to learn about the craft.
Science speculates the universe was born from a random vacuum fluctuation. So many things inspire my writing. Science is a huge thing, partly because I think scientists and poets are trying to do the same thing, kind of understand what's around us and tell people how it works. There sure could be a baby universe in there. I'm also very inspired by this place. It was something unexpected. I didn't come to Alberta to stay. I was just going to pass through, scrape the gold off the sidewalk and move on. But the place started to speak to me when I paid attention to it. The man with no hands stumbled in.
The impact that Alice has had on the Alberta arts community is undeniable. She was the first poet laureate of Edmonton. She created the Poetry Festival. She's been on the board of countless organizations in Edmonton, and her entire history has been about lifting up the literary community.
Sun streams on the heads of office workers. When I was named the first poet laureate of Edmonton, I hadn't a clue what I was doing, because it was a brand new position. All the nails and manacles have popped loose. It was a very interesting and sometimes challenging position. I was supposed to write poems for special occasions, and that doesn't always lead to great poetry. So I had the challenge of trying to write something as good as I could make it, as interesting as I could make it. At the same time, I was the first one. I didn't want to be the last one. So I didn't want to totally piss off all the politicians. I never thought I'd write a hockey poem. I wanted to make them enjoy this experience of having their world maybe reflected back to them. So I had to write poems about potholes and hockey teams, all the kinds of things that are part of daily life, but people don't normally think of as poetry. A mile or two away, on the frozen cloud surface of the real arena.
I think that Alice's legacy will be creating a community that loves poetry. And she's created it by just being Alice Major, which is a woman that adores this art form and that adores being in Edmonton and building something.
Or maybe leave it all alone, continue writing poems. I would like Alice Major to be remembered as a poet. I would like people to take those books off the shelf and read them. That is a real gift to the future, I think. Beyond that, you can only hope that some of the energy that you wanted to put into your art continues on into the community around you, in the kind of world where anything might happen.